unpack this a bit more further, we're now joined by international relations analyst Professor Chris Isike, and he joins us now via our video link. Professor, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. Now, we've seen there the Minister of International Relations, Mr. Ronald Lamola, giving South Africans an assurance that the U.S. will participate in the G20 that will take place later this year. Of course, speaking about the summit. At the same time, what should we read into this? Because, we have seen what has played out in the last couple of weeks in terms of how strained the relations are between South Africa and the US.
Well, good evening, Mbali, and also to your viewers. Well, it's a good way to characterize the relationship, except that it is not entirely correct. The relationship has been more strained on the side of the US towards South Africa than South Africa towards the US. South Africa has adopted a very responsible, very measured and dialogic approach to dealing with the US. And I think maybe that approach of non-confrontational, being non-confrontational, perhaps is yielding, benefits in terms of the US now assigning its charge the affairs to South Africa, Dana Brown, to attend the group of 20 foreign ministers meeting in Johannesburg.
And of course, when it comes to this very strained relationship, we have seen communication from government saying that, a delegation will be sent by South Africa to Washington to try and iron out these issues. How possible can this relationship between these two countries be saved so South Africa can host a successful G20 summit?
Well, first and foremost, South Africa does not need the United States to attend the G20 summit for it to be successful. The G20 is not about the United States. The United States is just one country in the G20, even though it is the world leader of the day. So I think it's high time we stop paying too much attention to whether the United States attend this G20 summit or not. However, it is important to have them buy into it. This is a rule-based international system which the United States have been touting for years. And it will be, shocking if they completely pull out of it, themselves. However, the approach that South Africa has taken, I've said before, is non-confrontational, is dialogic, and sending a high panel representation to the US to try and iron issues is a responsible thing to do, and that's what's going to happen. However, like the minister said when he did the briefing a few days ago, while South Africa is committed to doing that, it is not going to neglect other possibilities and openings with other countries of the world that it continues to, relate with. And the EU, for instance, is one such example.
And what is the possibility of, these two countries, South Africa and the US, finding one another? Because at play here is a myriad of issues, but at the center is the issue around Israel and South Africa taking Israel to the ICJ.
Yeah, that's the one issue that I don't think South Africa will back down from because it's very core to its foreign policy. And it has actually advanced its soft power, not just in Africa, but across the world. However, South Africa may be willing to give up, any kind of beneficiation from AGOA, even though painful, in order to try and meet the US halfway. Trump's foreign policy is very transactional and buoyed by what many have referred to as madman theory, to instill fear in his colleagues in order to force or extract concessions of some sort. So South Africa will not back down on that point, but may back down on other points like the AGOA, PEFA, and the likes. And maybe a bargaining chip that South Africa can use in terms of value is the dollarization that the BRICS countries are pushing. The US would want to have more allies than it has currently in the BRICS to ensure that the dollarization never happens. And South Africa could be that country with China to help ensure that it doesn't happen as immediately as the countries like Russia want it.
And of course, I mean, earlier on you said it's neither here nor there really if America does participate in the GNU, and you speak in terms of South Africa. But how important is, America's participation in this G20, particularly with the fact that they take over the presidency after South Africa?
Well, that's correct. So America is the leader of the world, even though we are seeing a world of multiple currencies of power, emerging all over the place. But America is still the leader of the world, and it will help boost South Africa's credentials and its soft power value if America does attend. But if it doesn't attend, it should not be a train smash for South Africa. Like I said, we must also start beginning to see beyond the 4-year tenure of President Trump and the backrolling of some of these hardline policies and stances that he's taking against South Africa.
And coming back to the G20, and tomorrow we are expecting that meeting to kick off. This is the ministers of foreign affairs in the G20. What are your expectations of that meeting, and should it really deal with some of the issues which are taking place, particularly with South Africa as well as the U.S.?
Well, many of those who are attending have attended, before, from Africa and the global south generally, and including the European Union, which have also pledged the support, from the press statement that was released, today after its ministerial political dialogue meeting with South Africa. So there's experience in some of these countries, and most of them have given support to South Africa. I expect that the issues that South Africa is committed to, multilateralism, a rules-based international system, one that is inclusive, that seeks to address sustainability challenges, are ideals that many of the countries of the world commit to, and I expect that it will be successful, and the outcomes will be one that will build into the eventual summit in November.
All right, Professor, thank you so much for your time and for your contributions. That is Professor Chris Isike. He is International Relations Analyst. They're just giving us his insight in terms of the relationship that we currently see between the US and South Africa.